that.
Hey, welcome into Feldco Bears, a recap live with Tom Waddle and Olin Kreutz. I'm David Kaplan. Bears, a big win on the lakefront, the first time in over 380 days. They win at Soldier Field. It's time for our 4 seasons heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electric game breakdown. And that leads us right to the Dr. Pepper player of the game. And we got to give it to quarterback Tyson Bagent. 21 of 29, $162, 1 touchdown, no turnovers. And Olin, I'll start with you this week. Tyson Bagent did not look like he was overwhelmed by the moment. Did you think he looked poised?
I thought he did. I thought he looked poised. I think we're playing to the crowd by giving him player of the game there. I'd give it to Deontay Foreman, to be honest.
Yes.
But as far as he went, man,
I got the only vote.
Yeah. Your name is on the show, Cap. Yeah. I'm not going to argue with you. The kid was impressive, man. He really was. Whether it was beating the blitz, whether it was not taking sacks, whether it was knowing when to put guys in motion and when to arrange things to tell guys where to go. I thought he did a great job. He looked like a backup quarterback capable of winning because, to be honest, man, when they elevated this guy, Tom, we were all like, how the hell do you elevate a guy during practice, right? But give Getsy credit. You know, he's with him at the Senior Bowl. We talked about that last week. They liked what they saw in practice. They put him over Peterman, only not in Hail Mary situations, I guess. But Tyson Bagent, great story, really good game for him. Now let me see it again.
What'd you think, Tommy? I thought the poise was what I was really impressed with, whether he was always finding an escape hatch out of the pocket. I thought he got it out quick, and I thought the offensive line had a good day too.
Yeah, I dropped you there for a second. Look, I think the best word to describe his performance was clean. I thought it was, like you said, efficient. I didn't think there was any confusion. I think from a procedural standpoint, you know, there's no delay of games. There's no guys confused coming out of the huddle where they're supposed to be. All the motions seems like they were intact. The 72% completion percentage is a byproduct of them not asking him really to push the ball down the field a ton, but also him being extremely accurate. The ball was where it needed to be. You know what I like to look at as well, guys, is I like to see quarterbacks move in a pocket, not just to evade a rush, but to create passing lanes, to be able to get the pass off by moving a little to the left or a little to the right or climbing the pocket or doing whatever. And the kid just looked comfortable. And, there were a couple of things that I liked. And you see here that, we highlighted the middle of the field. I was something before the game. I said to you guys, not only does he need to take care of the football, which he did, 0 turnovers for this Bears offense, I wanted them to attack the middle of the field and make opposing defenses to make them defend the entire field. Here, this was a 3rd down play with Tyler Scott, a kid that I think he's got some continuity with, probably from running some scout team and running some, 2nd and 3rd team stuff. But he stepped up in the pocket a little bit. He didn't panic, and he threw a strike. Look at the window. He throws this football, and there's some traffic in front of him, and there's a linebacker on his right that will also come into the screen as well eventually. But, flicks the ball into a spot, and it was a big 3rd down conversion. They were 8 of 13 on 3rd downs, and I just thought that, there were several slant routes, Olin, I think they threw as well. And I just love a team that will attack the entire field. You can't be afraid to throw the ball in the middle of the field. He threw one to DJ Moore. He threw another one to Tyler Scott. He threw another slant route to Darnell Mooney. And just think you've got to keep opposing defensive coordinators and opposing defenses honest and make them defend the entire field. So a lot of good stuff. Again, it wasn't explosive, but that's okay. They didn't ask him to play an explosive game.
Oh, gee, what did you think of the offensive line play? Because watching this on the All-22 twice, and again, I don't know what I'm looking at like you two do, but the ball gets out, man. He gets that ball out and where it's got to go. What did you think of the O-line, your guys?
I thought with all the talk about the different combinations and how should they play guys and Cody Whitehair should be run out of town, I thought they played pretty damn good football, man. And watching them play in the first drive, on the first play, I thought, oh, no, man. Bilal Nichols made a good play against Lucas Patrick. Tevin Jenkins got beat on the edge. It was kind of like, oh, here we go. but they corrected that. They ran a lot of tosses left. The new side or right side of the line, Tevin Jenkins, Darnell Wright, Mercedes Lewis. We talked about they would be a handful, right? But to give credit to the left side of the line also, and Cody Whitehair. What a horrible week that guy had last week, guys. Tom, we've been football players before. You hear people talk. You hear the things people were saying last week. He was done. He should never play for the Bears again. He's in decline. Credit him, man, for going out there, being a professional, having a good game. The Chicago Bears now 2 out of 3 games. The last 2 out of 3 games, your offensive line has been dominant, right? They dominated the Commanders, and then they dominated the Raiders. Interesting group to watch. You can see in this picture right here. Look where Cody and Borum have that guy. They have him in the end zone. That's a touchdown already. I don't care who the running back is, right? Lucas Patrick winning his one-on-one block there against Big John Jenkins, right? All I got to get out of you, Lucas, is a stalemate. Just give me a stalemate. We'll get moving on this double team. Cody came off the ball on this play, man. His shoulder is low. His pad on the pad. He blew that guy in the end zone. As you guys can hear in my voice, I get excited about those kind of double teams. So credit to that offensive line, Cap. Thought they played a good, clean game. And like you said, Bagent did help them out a few times when they got beat.
Let me ask Olin a question real quick. There was some conversation about the offensive line combination this week, Olin. And I thought you mentioned, a really good point there. Cody Whitehair is a veteran. You hear it echoes in your head, what you hear other people saying. And he didn't need anyone to tell him that he had a rough week the week before. But there was conversations about why would you move Tevin from left guard to right guard? Let him be comfortable because he's a young player and he's playing well in that spot. Why not ask Cody to go to the right side? Do you think this was a good tactical decision on the coach's behalf to try to get, because you're going to need Cody to be able to play for the remainder of the season? That's just part of the equation. That you needed to get him some confidence, despite being a veteran, but to leave him in a spot where he's most comfortable to try to build up that confidence, knowing that Tevin Jenkins can also handle right guard?
Yeah, it's a great point, Tom. And I also think he's a leader of your locker room, right? And you benched him. Man, you benched this guy. And if you don't start him that game, you're probably done with it, right? You're probably moving on from Cody Whitehair if you go with Ja'Tari Carter, who honestly has looked impressive, who's looked like he could play in the NFL and done a good job as another guy, another Ryan Post finding from a small college, right? So to your point, Tom, they went with their best 5. They said, let's go with our best 5, positions be damned, and put them on the field and see. Now, here's something interesting to watch, guys. I am waiting for this injury report to come out on Wednesday. I'll tell you why, Cap and Tom, and you guys are on radio. So let me say this to you guys. Darnell Wright did not use his left arm in that game. He did not use his left arm. And I don't know how long you can do that in the NFL. People see that on film. I credit the big man for playing. I give him credit for going out there and playing, and he was playing one arm a lot of the game and then using his feet to block, like we know, one of the best defensive ends in the game.
Boy, if you lose him at right tackle, what move do you even make? Do you play your swing there? Do you move Tevin back to attack? What do you do?
Well, I don't want to start. I don't want to start a panic. Hold on now. But Avante Collins, we talked about that. I had to look up his name again, right? You probably put Borum. You leave Borum and bring Avante Collins in. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know what they do to this offensive line if that does happen. I give him credit for playing. He wasn't using his left arm very much in that game, though. It's something to watch out for.
You know what, to Olin's point as well, it was very odd because in the week, I think it was Thursday, he was a DMP and then, was questionable. And then on Friday, he was full practice. I think he was still listed as questionable, but, this is because they're thin at that spot. Braxton Jones is a guy that they've got to designate him be able to practice at some point, though. But, there's no definite word on whether or not he's going to be able to come back anytime soon. So they're pretty thin up there for sure.
You have made the point, Olin, and somebody was just posting a comment. Cody's had issues the last 2 years. Again, from my untrained offensive line eye, Cody's issues have been when they played him at a position he shouldn't be playing.
Yeah, and people keep repeating the line that Cody is paid like an elite guard and he should play like an elite guard, and that's not true, right? I keep telling people the elite guards make $22 million a year. Cody makes 10. It sounds about right to me, right? Middle of the pack. So I think he gives you that level of play there at left guard. And remember, with all the quarterbacks going in and out, and the offensive line has proven yet again, guys, before it was all fields, no matter who's back there, they run the ball, right? They run for yards, this offensive line. Played good against the Commanders. So I got to give this credit unit for 1 week, a unit that's taken a lot of – from me too, where, like, you don't have enough assets there, you don't have enough guys, now you're moving them all around, how they're going to play like this. They come out, Coach Eberflus, you guys heard him, he had Coach Morgan take a bow, right? At the end of the game, when you mention a coach, you're letting them take a bow in front of everybody. That room, we call ourselves the Mushroom Society, right? Because we get shit on constantly, right? We know that. We know if things go wrong. Here's the thing. No one understands offensive line play. So if you say it's the offensive line's fault, everyone just agrees with you, right? No one really knows what's going on up there. So credit to those big guys for 1 week. Now, like they did that against the Commanders, bad day against Minnesota. Let's go have a good day against San Diego.
And at the end of the day, guys, they ran it for 173 yards at a 4.6 yard per clip. You do that, and you play the defense that this group has played the last 3 weeks, you got a chance, even against when you step up in class. You take care of the football, you run the football, you play good defense, even if your starting quarterback is hurt. With this young man who the stage isn't too big and the lights aren't too bright for him, you got a chance every time you run out there now with this crew. And I wouldn't have been able to say that 3 weeks ago with any degree of confidence.
Bears, 38 carries, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. I thought, again, Olin would have given player of the game to Deontay Foreman. Darrington Evans played a really good game, 14 carries for 48 yards with a long of 11. Tyson ran 3 times for 24 yards. They even ran Tyler Scott a little bit. I thought the run game was the key to the entire deal, don't you think?
I did as well. And I would say this: they've got some roster things that they have to think about here, okay? Because they've got some redundancy. When you have Velus Jones and Tyler Scott who kind of do the same thing, and you need a running back, in my humble opinion, you need a running back that can provide some help in the passing game. And I don't see Foreman or Evans is one of those types of guys that can help up with the pass protection. So if Roschon Johnson comes off of out of concussion protocol, you got to bring him in and you've got to allow him to be part of the mix. Just if you're helping out your pass protection. I just think it's just a little strange when you have their punt returner Taylor does only one thing. He returns punts. Velus Jones is kind of a one skill set guy, and Tyler Scott can do. So you know what I'm saying, guys, is like they've got some redundancy here. And I just want to make sure that when their backs get healthy, you're not sitting for them. Like, even if you've got 4 backs, active on Sundays, that's fine, because you don't need one guy who only returns punts, one guy who only returns kicks, and then another guy that can do really all of it. So I'm really interested to see what they do with their roster when Roschon comes off the out of concussion protocol, and then eventually Herbert comes off the injured list.
All right, it's our Dr. Pepper play of the game. I'm giving OG some love on this. We talked about it on the phone earlier. It's D'Onta Foreman finding the end zone as a receiver. This is the Bagent touchdown pass. I thought Foreman put his nose down, man, guys, and really ran hard, found the end zone. And that was a huge play in this game, because you keep thinking, boy, the Raiders going to come back. They're getting the ball down the field. And bam, that one put this thing on ice, Olin.
It did, man. And there was a run in the first touchdown drive, and I like to call them statement runs, where you're making a statement like you're going to have to make a decision today. Do you want to play football with your big boy pads or not? And when a running back makes a statement like that, and I don't know if Tom agrees with me, it echoes on the sideline, man. When he runs over, I think it was a run, he ran over Epps, the safety, ran over 2 guys. Then he dragged a couple more guys. So I think the 1 or 2 yard line right before the touchdown we showed. And when a running back does that, man, you get jacked. The whole team knows. Like, you're sending a message to the Raiders. Like, decide if you want to play football today or not, because this is the way the game's going to be all day. And then you saw after that, the O-line got more physical. The defense got more physical. I thought that statement was to his team and to the whole stadium that day, that this is the kind of game it was going to be. And to your point, Cap, he catches one in the flat, and he made them make a decision again. And the Raiders made a decision. I think you might see a few guys get cut this week because they made the wrong decision down there in Las Vegas. But credit Deontay Foreman, man, Tom. I don't know about you. As an old ball player, I came off my couch, man. I was screaming. And I might have said a few F words at the TV. That's right, but it was awesome to watch him set the tone for his group and let everybody know at Soldier Field that day that it was going to be that kind of football game.
Yeah, Olin, that's why I'm saying, like, when guys come back and they're ready to play again, I'm not putting Foreman down. I mean, Foreman's going to be active for me because of all the reasons you just mentioned. There were several business decisions that were made Sunday by Raiders defenders, and it wasn't just Foreman. I mean, Tyler Scott's like 175 pounds. I don't know if you guys saw on the jet sweep the business decision that Marcus Peters made. Yeah. And that was on a huge play. It was a third down run. So I agree with you. I think that the Bears, they put it on the Raiders physically, and they were certainly the more physical team in the trenches. But I thought across the board, they were a more physical team than the Raiders were.
We also, here's the Foreman toss, one of the ones we were talking about earlier. And I mean, even David Kaplan could get a little yardage through a hole that big. Jeez.
Right. Yeah. I thought Cody and Borum had a really good day. And I'll tell you a guy who's an undercover MVP in this game. He did a lot of little things. I give him credit. He trains with my good friend Paul Matthews over there at Neural Reset Protocol in Highland Park. But Cole Kmet, did everything they asked him to do. He chipped for the tackles. He did run blocking. He didn't show up in the stat sheet. But he's the kind of guy, like, if you have a throwback player at a game, a guy who did all the little things you asked him to do, who sacrificed himself for the team. I thought Cole Kmet had that kind of game on Sunday and did a lot of things that don't show up in the stat sheet. But I give him credit for buckling his chin strap and doing the things they're asking him to do.
I also want to take a look. There's another play, the slant that we talked about to Darnell Mooney. The slant to Mooney is on 1st and 20, Olin and Tommy, after a holding penalty. And I thought this was a really good throw. And I know T. Waddle loves running slants, right?
Yeah, I think it comes off a blitz as well. So I'm not so sure it's not a hot read. And it's a fantastic decision by Bagent as well. You see, like, the area is vacated. That ball's got to be thrown low. And it's got to be thrown in front of the receiver as opposed to high and behind the receiver. He's got a good throwing lane. The protection is there. But you just got to make sure you don't sail that ball because there's a defender behind him as well. But these are the routes that look at the void in the middle of this field. There have been moments this year when there has been a void that size. And I don't think the Bears offense has really taken advantage of it. This was an example. The first pass we showed you with Tyler Scott was another example of attacking the middle of the field. I thought DJ Moore, there was another slant where he ran in the game as well. And look, the ball came out quick. There weren't a whole lot of downfield throws. That's why the completion percentage was so high. But and getting Darnell Mooney back involved, I think he had 4 or 5 targets. He had 8 different Bears receivers catching the football. It just speaks to the efficiency of the offense. And look, again, I watched the game twice now, probably 2.5 times. It's not an intricate or really, elite type of game plan. It was very basic, which was totally fine. It was just executed to perfection by everyone, the O-line, the backs, the receivers, and the young quarterback. My guess is when they play the Chargers Sunday night, they're going to add some pieces to this offense, and they're going to ask Bagent to do some more stuff and maybe push the ball downfield. But I just thought it looked easy, and football ain't easy. I mean, am I right? Olin, football's not easy.
No, but not at that level, not at that position.
Yeah,
not at all.
In a lot of ways, it looked okay, it looked easy.
I also wanted to show you
that play real fast, Cap. That play, their nickel back, Amik Robertson comes off the edge. Jenkins, Darnell Wright, and Lucas Patrick, there's a little miscommunication there. They get beat, right? And Tyree Wilson is standing right there to get a sack. And Bagent gets the ball out. So I got to credit the young man there. You go through that play one more step, and number 9 is coming free. Lucas Patrick should be sliding over to that, and he's not. So, again, he's making guys better. As Tom knows, they put a little motion on that, and then motion it back out the other way, and he gets a pre-snap read on what may be coming. And I tell you what, man, when you're looking for plays that we talked about, can you make football plays? By that I mean repeatable plays. You don't miss the layups, right? Like you hit your singles. That is a single right there, where everything's coming and the perfect play call is called. I just want you to throw it to Mooney, and he doesn't. I got to be honest. You don't want to go overboard with this kid, but that play is the kind of play that wins football games on Sunday afternoons in the NFL.
I think that Olin, too, you've used the word before, multiplier before, and I think that that's a good example. It's not an intricate play. He didn't drop back 7 steps and throw a 25-yard rope down the middle of the field on a deep crosser. But that throw's got to be made. And as Olin just said, he picked up his offensive line that made a protection mistake. And what did he do? He made sure he had a clean throwing lane, and he got the ball out quick, and he put the ball in a spot where Mooney had the opportunity to catch the ball and kept it away from the defenders. So it looks like, a 10, 11-yard completion. But when you really go through the details of the play, it really makes you smile and makes you realize that the offense can work if everybody, even if guys are making mistakes, if somebody can be a multiplier, in this case it was their quarterback, then pick each other up.
I also wanted to bring up the play where Tyson Bagent took off. He slid, and boom, he scrambles and makes a really, really good, nice run here that sets them up as they would go down and score. I just thought he did a really good job here. He's got a good, clean pocket, Olin. But then as the pressure comes, he does a really good job making a man miss. He sees open field. He kept pumping like he's going to throw. Guys are freezing on him. Boom, and then he scooted out of bounds. I thought that was a really impressive play right there.
Yeah, he made a lot of plays like that. We're talking about repeatable, reading it. The guys, he doesn't like what he sees in the secondary, so I'm going to take off. I'm going to give myself some positive yards, right? And was this the play where he pumped up the crowd after?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I like that, man. I mean, I like that's knowing the situation, right? Knowing where you are, knowing that everybody wants you to play well, and you're just sending energy through the team. And like you guys know, that's a kid who understands, because when the crowd gets pumped up, that helps the defense, right? When that crowd's electric, he just helped the defense out.
I thought it was really interesting, too, because if you see the video that the Bears put out before the game, they're in the tunnel. Last person to speak. I don't know if anybody else spoke beforehand, and coach was standing behind him. Here's your rookie quarterback out of Division II school is the one that's breaking down the team before you run out onto the field. Like, he's the last one to speak to them before they get out there. I think that this team has most rookies, from experience, they're ignored. Most rookies are ignored. They're not really even heard. This kid has found a way to connect with guys, and I'm not overplaying it. I'm just telling you, he has found a way to connect with some of these older players, whether it's Cole Kmet, it's DJ Moore, it's Lucas Patrick, whoever it is. I think that, they look at him and they see a guy that is either wise or however he's an old soul when it comes to football, and they don't look at him as an inexperienced rookie, which is what he is.
Olin, the interesting thing about this kid is that nobody drafted him, but he has all this experience. His dad is an arm wrestler and a character, and the whole story fits. Like, how does someone not roll a 7th-round pick and go, I'll take a shot at that guy? His numbers are really good.
Yeah, it's just probably overthinking it. And I don't know what he looked like in the Senior Bowl. I'm not going to act like I knew it. And lucky for the Chicago Bears that he got to see him up close and personal and see all these intangibles he brings, and maybe talent, right? And I was thinking about, gosh, I didn't know. And you hate to bring these names because people are going to be like, Olin thinks he's Tom Brady. Olin thinks he's Drew Brees. I kind of remember Tom Brady being a game manager to start his career, if I remember correctly. And they had a great defense there in New England. And so is Drew Brees. And everyone starts this way. Look, I'm not saying this kid's going to be great. I'm just saying he did do some things on Sunday that made you thought, man, I see why they gave him a chance. I see why they didn't worry about playing him too much.
And think about it, guys. He had to harness his inner aggressive behavior because he's not a game manager. And we talked about this last week. They asked him to be a game manager, but I guarantee if you put the film on of him playing at Shepherd, he's not a game manager. He's a playmaker. So for him to kind of check that mentality or that ego at the door and do what was best for his team, very impressive. It shows maturity for a young kid as well.
Okay, explain to me then what you do. I'm not saying it's going to happen. My question is, if he goes out and he plays his ass off on Sunday Night Football, and you look and go, wow, that SOB just threw for 260 and 2 scores, and wow, whether they win or lose, that guy was really good. And Justin goes, yeah, my thumb is suddenly feeling better. Do you play him, or do you say, we're rolling with the hot hand right now with the kid? What do you do?
You want me to answer that?
Yep, you're first.
All right. I'll tell you the truth, man. I've seen a lot of Justin Fields. He had a Hallis-Saw. I'm probably rolling with Bagent. Right? I'm gonna roll with him and let him play. I gotta see what I have in my quarterback room before I get the first pick of the draft, which it looks like the Chicago Bears might get. So I'm gonna see what I got in this kid, Bagent and Justin Fields. I don't know. Do you pull him? Like, once you go away from Justin Fields, the problem is you're done, right? Like, that's it. You've not been starting quarterback. You're going on with Bagent. So
right.
I don't know everything that goes on in that building, but for right now, for me, if he looks the same in the San Diego game, I'm probably giving him a few more games.
Yeah, I think that they go back to Justin when he's healthy. If Bagent goes out and plays very well in this game and they win this ball game, I think that there will be a tendency, like Olin said, and I completely understand it, to continue to roll with him. I think probably what's most likely is they would turn the job back over to Justin because he is their starter. But there would be a leash involved, okay? So they wouldn't give him an infinite amount of time to go out there and show you that this should be his job for the remainder of the season. I don't think there'll be a quick hook, but I think that it will always be in the back of their mind that if in fact it doesn't look good or it doesn't get better or the thumb is bothering him, that they will make the decision to move back to the kid if they have to. But I don't think that there's any quarterback controversy brewing for now. I think if Justin comes back in a week or two, even if Bagent is playing well, I think they go back to Justin. Again, like, I think we all agree, don't we, also that, like, at the end of this, and I know, Olin, you were talking about it, at the end of this year, they have to be 100% convinced. And maybe they already are. I don't know. I haven't talked to anyone up there. But when the season's over, you have to be 100% convinced as to who Justin is. Either you're going to move forward with him or you're going to move away from him, and they've got the flexibility to pivot and go in a different direction. So you just want to make sure that you err on the side of caution with regard to having enough, evaluation time. So that's why I think that they will go back to him, even if the kid plays well. I don't think
were putting Trubisky on ice at this point. Everyone, he can't play.
Yeah,
right?
Here. I'll say this. This is why I say stay with Bagent. Because to me, you already told me that Fields' game, we know what you have to do to win with Justin Fields already, right? After 30 or 40 games. We know the kind of offense that you have to run. You've already told me you're not going to run that offense. I've watched film enough. You're not going to run what Justin Fields needs to run to win games. So why keep forcing him out there in your offense? You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
That's my problem with that's why I would stay with Bagent in that building, because you've already told me you're not going to do that. You're not going to run zone reads. You're not going to run quarterback power. You're not going to get Fields on the move. I watched what you did with him against Minnesota. I've watched you now for his career since Coach Flu's got here. They've stuck him in the pocket and they insisted this is what he's got to do. So for me, in that building with that coaching staff, I'm staying with Bagent.
So that's given you basically the conclusion is they've made their decision. If they're not going to tailor the offense to the skill set to Justin, and this is something I've always felt strongly about in the past. If you feel like you do have to cut the field in half and you do have to tailor an offense to a particular player, sometimes you put an artificial ceiling on just how good your offense can be, because that player at some point's got to be able to do it all. Like Josh Allen can do it all in Buffalo. Jalen Hurts can do it all in Philadelphia. Those are offenses where at times you tailor the some of the play calling to the strengths of the quarterback. But at the end of the day, those guys can do everything. They can play from the pocket. They can play from the edge. And I, as Olin is talking about it, their reluctance to do some of that stuff may be the breadcrumbs that you need to follow the trail to realize that they have possibly come to a decision sooner rather than later.
It's a great point. All right, time for Winging It, our look at quarterback play on Sunday's game over the Raiders. Tyson Bagent, and it's brought to you by Westtown Bakery in Wheeling. I'm having brunch with my beautiful wife, Mindy, on Sunday at Westtown Bakery, and they actually sent a few goodies to the Kreutz house today, and they've got my dinner here. Holy cow. You got to see what they sent to the house for dinner. There is Tyson's numbers, 21 of 29, $162, a touchdown, and more importantly, no turnovers. None. How about that sandwich for dinner tonight? Wow. Oh, baby. And we got bacon wrapped dates from the great people at Westtown Bakery on Milwaukee and Lake Cook in Wheeling. Awesome.
Sounds like a good place, Cap, man.
It's the best. The best.
Are we going to spend any time giving the defense a little bit of credit for their performance?
We're getting to that.
I know the quarterback position is sexy, but I think like offensive line, Olin, I think the defense, the O-line doesn't get enough credit. The defense isn't getting enough credit right now either.
We're going to that after this break.
Okay.
The house before you, over 30 years old, still has its original windows. Bone chiller.
Folks, there's no need to be afraid of old windows. Right now, buy one window and you'll get one free. Plus, no interest for 1 year. Buy one window, get one free ends Halloween. Hurry. Call now.
For quality windows, siding, and doors, call 866 for Feldco.
Feldco Bears Recap Live is brought to you by Feldco, Chicago's home renewal experts. Call 866-4FELDCO. Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. For all the right reasons, Four Seasons. Vienna Beef. Go to viennabeef.com and use code CAP23. That's KAP23 at checkout for 15% off your order today. And Dr. Pepper. Grab an ice cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. All right, time for our fan questions, and it's our brand new sponsored segment brought to you by Greater Midwest Exteriors. You can call them at 630-349-7434. Forge a new look for your home with Greater Midwest Exteriors. Folks, for over 20 years, GME is the leader when it comes to providing home exterior services for Chicagoland area homeowners. We're talking ability to get new windows and gutters and roofing and ready to give your home the facelift it deserves. Call 630-349-7434 for a free estimate or head over to gmechicago.com. Make your home the talk of the town. Mention CAP, get 10% off your next project. All right, we have fan questions here on Feldco Bears Recap Live. Spike Doran says, is there any benefit for Fields being on the sideline and seeing the game from a different perspective? What do you think?
You know what? I personally, I said this the other day. I think that, even the most accomplished guys can learn. I mean, it's a constant learning process. And I think that sometimes you learn more from sitting out and watching than you do being out there on the field, or it's a different type of experience. I think Justin, whether he's standing on the field or he's sitting up in the booth or he's watching the game film after, Bagent playing, he can see, how the offense functions when the ball is coming out quick and how to do things a little bit differently than how he does them and try to implement some of that stuff into his own game. So, yeah, I think there is definitely some stuff he can draw from watching someone else play his position.
Yeah, there's no doubt you can learn from the bench. And just going to the bench in the NFL, as Tom knows, man, you never want them to see someone doing your job. Right?
Yes.
I never wanted them to see if the first group was in and they sent a center on the field, I sent him back out. Like if my guys were out there, I'm on the field, man. Like I did not want to be on the sideline seeing that offense function without me in there. So you can learn from that, and it's got to get your competitive juices flowing. I'm just speaking from a former player's perspective. Yes. Look, Rod Marinelli told me when I started coaching, I saw Rod Marinelli at the Notre Dame football clinic. He said, Olin, if you have a problem with any players, send them to the bench. Let the bench talk to them. The bench always sends them back. They get better. Yeah. I never got anybody. That is great. That was great information from Coach Marinelli, and that is what, like Tom is saying, that's what Justin Fields got to watch. last night at Soldier Field, Sunday night, crowd going nuts for this guy. That's supposed to be my spot.
Yeah.
All right, here's our next question from Chris Cub 16. Do you think the Bears will spend big on the offensive line in the offseason or just add on through the draft again? Because I know, Olin, you have consistently said, go find the best available left tackle, put him right there, and now get a center. For me, they got to get a center.
Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed, man. And Cap, I know what you're saying. I always say find the best available lineman. You just need an elite guy at his position, right? You need a guy who's going to go out there every week and play at an all-pro level and dominate people. And they have some young guys, if they can stay healthy, to keep going on that rise, maybe they have them. But like we talked about last week, as good as Tevin Jenkins looks when he's out there, I don't even think he's played a full season yet, right? And you see like Darnell Wright's a little bumped up. They got to get these guys playing every week at a high level. So get you somebody who's elite and take somebody early in the draft.
Okay. They got to get a center. For me, Olin, could Josh Kreutz come out and start playing?
He's got a lot to learn. He's not ready yet. He's got a lot to learn. They're on their bye week. We're studying film right now. The Bears don't need him right now. Maybe one day, but he's a long way away.
All right. And then R6 says, is Cody Whitehair expendable with Jenkins and Davis locked in at left guard and right guard, although Davis is hurt? Does he have any trade value by the trade deadline? If you're a really, really good team thing and we can get to the playoffs, we need some depth there. Do you trade Cody Whitehair if you're the Bears?
I don't. You don't have enough healthy bodies at the moment. And look, I don't know that anybody's going to give you something that's worth more than he provides for you, whether it's Justin Fields behind center or it's Tyson Bagent behind center. You got to continue to be able to run the football and you got to be able to continue to put a healthy body out there and try to protect your quarterback. So I don't think you're subtracting from your offensive line at this particular moment. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and I love Cody Whitehair and what he did this past week, but the Bears don't need a bag of Funyuns, right? What we traded for Cody Whitehair. Like, I don't know what we're going to get for Cody Whitehair right now, Cap. So, look, you can't lock Tevin Jenkins in anywhere. I love Tevin when he's on the field. I think he's a great talent. I can't trust him right now. So, like Tom is saying, I got to keep my assets that I do have on the offensive line here in that room, getting better. I do need a veteran presence to help Jatari Carter develop. Maybe to show guys like Tevin Jenkins and Darnell Wright how to stay healthy, how to train during the season. Hey, guys, make sure we're in the ice tub. Make sure we get in the sauna. Make sure we're recovering. So he brings value to your locker room.
I don't.
Yeah, you're not going to get like a high draft pick here now.
No, so. It's also. I think I think the conversation about the trade deadline. Look, I think Ryan Poles has shown everybody that he'll add, he'll subtract, he'll constantly be looking to fix this roster or to add to this roster. I think it's weird, though, that I would find it weird if they start trading some of their better players. Like, this isn't a talented enough
like
roster.
Jalen Johnson.
Like Jalen Johnson or Darnell Mooney. I keep hearing everyone like, well, could you get – first of all, I don't know what you could get for these guys, but if you trade them, you're going to have to replace them. Jalen Johnson may not be the best cornerback in the National Football League, but he's a starting cornerback in the NFL, and I personally think he's a really good football player. I don't know why you would want to subtract him from a roster that's already deficient in a lot of areas. Darnell Mooney's not a one. I get it. I don't know what Darnell is going to ask for in the offseason. He's going to be a free agent. But whether it's Bagent or it's Fields, these guys need more weapons, not fewer weapons. So, look, if this was the 49ers or this was the Eagles or a more stacked roster, I could understand being, willing to trade away a piece or two. And I do understand the economics of the game, but and where they're at and whether or not they want to. I don't think Jalen Johnson's going to be paid as the highest paid cornerback in the National Football League, but get that deal done. Like, he gives your team, an excellent cover corner. I don't know why we would at this point be looking to divest ourselves as opposed to investing.
It's a great point. It is. All right, let's talk about that defense because Jalen Johnson had a great day. He had 2 picks. He had a pick 6. The run defense was really, really good. You know who I thought, and again, looking at him on tape and watching the game with my son, Andrew Billings looks like he's really trying to play hard and trying to earn a job. I just feel like their guys are giving an effort for Eberflus. I do. As struggling as they were at times, they've always played hard for this dude. Agreed?
Mm-hmm. I think the secondary we talked about, when you turn that film on, they're close. I mean, it depends on who you play, I understand. But they've looked elite at times to me. And by the secondary, I mean the guys on the back end. I'm including Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards in that. They've been playing at a very high level. Look, with Brisker on the field, Bob Sanders, right, Lynch from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mike Brown. That position is very important. I think he's trying to step his game up. Kyler Gordon coming off that edge is dangerous. Tyreek Stevenson, Tom, I thought when he stopped that slant before the Raiders missed that field goal, and he went one-on-one with Devontae Adams. Look, Flus is leaving them in man-to-man a lot, man. And these guys are performing. Obviously, big test this week. That's the NFL. As soon as you think you're good at something, here comes your worst nightmare, right? Herbert and the Chargers. But I'm actually interested in what Tom thinks, because when I turn that film on, I see a very good second-level defense.
You know, Olin, I think their guys would be just fine playing old-school Raiders football in the secondary, like turning them loose, man-to-man, bump and run all day long. I think Tyreek Stevenson, that's kind of who he was at Miami. I think letting them or asking them to sit back and play cover two kind of robs them of who they are. I would have them being more aggressive. Look, these guys aren't Peanut Tillman. I mean, they're not in that elite category, but they're playmakers. They play physical. It was one of the things I was bitching and moaning about early in the season. Why are you sitting off and catching receivers? These are big physical guys. Get up there, and even if you are playing man, reroute them. Let them know you're going to get your hands on them and be physical. I think their secondary's got a chance to be really good. How about these numbers, guys? And I get it. It was the Washington Commanders, followed by the Vikings without Justin Jefferson. And, oh, by the way, that team without Justin Jefferson against the 49ers threw for 300, almost 400 yards. And then you play the Raiders with a backup quarterback. But over the last 3 weeks, Eberflus's defense is giving him 280 yards and 15 points per game. And they've taken the ball away 6 times. It's time to give credit where credit is due. And I was watching the game with my brother on Sunday, and he's the one that looked at me and says, I don't know that I've seen a Bears football team look like they enjoyed playing football in a long time, but this team looks like they're enjoying playing football. And whether it was Olin talking about Foreman, trucking guys, or the defense getting after people and flying around, look, I think that, again, they're not getting a rush consistently. I get that. That problem is not going to be solved this year, unfortunately. But you see that Edwards and Edmonds are good football players, that Jack Sanborn plays his position well, and that secondary's got a chance to be physical. Are they going to be great this year? No. But if you continue to play with the passion and the intensity and the effort that they've played with the last 3 weeks, I'll take my shot with these guys.
What about the matchup this coming week? It is our Vienna look at the LA Chargers, and it's a team that has a quarterback that I loved when he came out of college, Justin Herbert. It's the look ahead brought to you by Vienna Beef. Go to viennabeef.com and use code CAP23. Get your Chicago favorites as you watch your Chicago Bears play. Look, Olin, this kid, Justin Herbert, I feel like they're not getting all they could out of him. There's talent on that team. That kid's a stud. Joey Bosa's a stud. Austin Eckler's a really good player. Keenan Allen. They got a bunch of dudes.
Max playing well.
Yeah. Khalil Mack. Are they just getting out-coached? What's the problem there?
Yeah, it just looks like, they make mental mistakes you don't expect from a Coach Staley unit in the secondary, right? And it just looks like they're not all playing on the same page. And like you said, when you go through these names, you're like, man, I mean, even Rashawn Slater and Zion Johnson on the left side of their line. Now, they did lose their very good center, right? Losing his name right now. Corey Linsley. And that's a big loss for that team. But you still have enough talent. And their offense does rank up in getting yardage and stuff. Their defense, when I watch them on film, is what really shocks me with the talent and the amount of assets they put on that side of the ball. And when you watch it, it's kind of like watching the Bears early in the year, right? It just looks like, what the hell's going on out there? Like, why are so many guys in the wrong spot? Why are they not in the zone they're trying to play? We all know what Staley likes to play, the Vic Fangio looks, right? And then they should have guys that get the pass rush, and they don't. It's just kind of a weird film to watch, kind of like watching the Raiders play on Sunday. You're just trying to figure out what the hell they're actually doing.
I think Asante Samuel Jr. is in their secondary too, isn't he? I think
yes,
so.
Yes.
So they've got playmakers. It's an example. Like, you can have all the talent in the world, but if your group isn't playing as a unit, sometimes you're just not that effective. Look, they do two things exceptionally well. They push the ball downfield, and Herbert can still play. Have they had the success that maybe a lot of people thought that they were going to have? Not yet. But they can push the ball downfield, threaten you with a passing game. They've got a dynamic running back in Austin Eckler who can run it and catch it. And they can get after your quarterback. They've got some established pass rushers. Do they get out of their lanes sometimes? Are they a little undisciplined? Sure. And you got to hit them when they make mistakes like that. But you're going to get challenged. I think that the secondary is going to be up for that challenge. You got to find a little bit of a pass rush, so stay aggressive. And I think that, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I think there's going to be an opportunity for them to add a little bit to their game plan. I believe the Chargers are dead last in the league in terms of yards per pass attempt, or you can make plays down the field on them. As Olin said, they're in discipline and they're not in the right spot a bunch. So I don't believe you're going to see the same game plan Sunday night against the Chargers that you did against the Raiders. I think they did it based on necessity and to get the young quarterback his feet underneath him, get him a little bit of confidence. I think that they'll open it up a little bit more against the Chargers. I think you may have to, because the Chargers are definitely more capable of scoring than the Raiders were with Brian Hoyer back there.
If the Bears win, does Staley get fired on Monday morning? I mean, they pushed all their chips in now. Khalil Mack, they gave up a lot, took a lot of money on. They paid the quarterback. Like, I feel like if the Bears go in there and win at SoFi, we might be seeing a coaching change.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, that would be a huge fall for a guy like Brandon Staley, right? I mean, this guy was a hot name at the beginning of the year. I don't know much of what's going on there in Los Angeles and what everybody's talking about. It would be a loss for them. I'm excited for the first time in a long time, guys, to watch our secondary compete against this offense. I really am. I really think this is the first time in a long time I can say that I think the Bears may match up pretty well. Now, we got to see the injury reports and everything that comes out this week. And does Eddie Jackson come back? I mean, Eddie Jackson was missing too last week. Yeah. Put him back in the mix, right? And obviously we don't get much of a pass rush and can Flus bring, but we have guys in a secondary now, and we spent a lot of assets there that can compete. As far as Staley and fire cap, I mean, I wouldn't know. That would be a huge fall from grace for a guy who a couple of years ago was this young evil genius.
Yeah, he was in the post. They were in the postseason last year, and he's got a winning record. Do I believe that, I think he's reckless at times with his fourth down decisions. Like, I'm fine with going for it on fourth down in the other team's territory. Like, if you're on their 25 and it's 4th and 3, fine. I'm good with you. When you're going for it 4th and short from your own 20, I think he's been reckless at times with some of his decision-making, but he's got a winning record and they were in the postseason. I doubt very highly that if the Bears win this game, that he's going to get fired. But look, it's going to be a home game for the Bears. It just is. When you go to SoFi, the
Chicago travels, man.
Well, yeah, like
that's the 85 Bears, Cap. The 85 Bears. There's so many fans. We knew it when we played.
Yeah,
right? We'd go out. Like Arizona would be all Bears fans, and we'd say it in the locker room. Thanks to the 85 Bears, there's so many Chicago Bears fans out there.
And you're going to feel it. You're going to hear it, too. I think it was the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys and Chargers, was it? And the Cowboys, their fans travel as well. It was like a Cowboy home game. So, I think there's an opportunity for this.
It's got to suck to be a Charger player and go, we're in this beautiful stadium and all the fans are wearing blue and orange. Or blue and
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. I mean, I wouldn't know. I never had that problem being a Chicago Bears. So, I have had where we were losing to the Green Bay Packers at home, and they were chanting Bears still suck. That's about the most I experienced about that. A lot of Packers fans in the stadium, and that sucked. So I imagine it does suck for them.
I did just get tickets. I'm going to the last game of the year I've never been to Lambeau. So my wife and I are going to Lambeau.
Yeah.
They're in a world that they're in a mess right there themselves too. It's finally fun to see a Green Bay offense not function properly. And after a very quick start, Jordan Love has reverted back to the player he was in college, where interceptions were a problem. And we've seen him throw, I think, 7 picks in the last 4 games. That team last Sunday was held scoreless by the Broncos in the first half. It was unbelievable. Fun to watch.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, man. I know this. Jordan Love's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. He may get better.
Yeah.
But he's not a Hall of Famer, and the Packers fans are about to find out what we've known here for a long time.
Olin, Michael Penix, to get away from the Bears for a second. So Michael Penix was the favorite to win the Heisman until this past weekend, and now I think he's the second choice behind J.J. McCarthy. What do you think of your old UW squad, and what do you think of Michael Penix?
They're doing a great job over there. I don't get to watch them too much. Obviously, still a fan over there, but that is a good football team. They've really improved. And Penix now, I think he's an older. He went to Indiana, didn't he?
Correct.
He's a 6-year guy nowadays. These quarterbacks, I think they call him uncle when they walk in the locker room. They don't even know who this guy is. And this guy's like 20. I don't know about you guys. I think they should give everybody 6 years. I think they should change the rule. I think it's been good for football. I think these kids can make money through NIL now. I think that the COVID showed you that there's nothing wrong with giving these kids an extra year. Even like Oregon's quarterback, Bo Nix, I think came from Auburn, right? Yep. So a lot of these quarterbacks, they keep going, and I think they've improved the product on the football field.
I will say
23. He'll be 24 in May.
I'll say this. Like, I watched a lot of college football this weekend, and I'm no quarterback expert, but I watched Caleb, and I'm, he's still a fabulous player. I know he struggled a little bit against some better defenses. I watched Drake May. You mentioned the kid from Michigan, Cat. J.J. McCarthy was the best quarterback I saw play, and I get it. They were playing Michigan State, a team that's in the valley right now. They're not at the top of the mountain. They're a down program right now. But that kid, to me, is the most impressive. He was the most impressive quarterback I saw play this weekend.
Yeah, a friend of mine who scouts in the league I went to school with, he said, look, Caleb Williams might be the most talented. Drake may be the most classic Joe Burrow style in the pocket. But he said, the guy that might be the most polished and ready to go, he said, I love J.J. McCarthy.
He can sling it. He can sling. Local kid, I think, from LaGrange as well. So
he is.
He was, that for what it's worth. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're not covering college football, but I thought he was the best quarterback I saw play this weekend. Penix struggled.
It's overthinking its season, right? We just overthink these quarterbacks, man. I tell you what, if Caleb Williams can do all the things they say he can do, if he's that talented, I'm gonna go to USC. I'm gonna talk to his coaches and his teammates.
Yeah.
But I need a guy who can sling it, who can run around in this league nowadays, and I need a guy with a little bit of an edge. If his edge bugs people, that's on them. His edge doesn't really bug me, right? That doesn't throw me off. If this guy can sling it to every part of the field, what I've seen him do, and you've got to look at his offensive line, guys. They're not very good. That offensive line at USC is not very good, man. I got to see what he's surrounded by. Sometimes guys can talk themselves out of a guy like Mahomes, who went 15th or 17th in the draft, right? Like, you just got to be careful sometimes.
As you look at the Jim Harbaugh scandal that's out there, reportedly he had this one guy out there. Now,
stupidest rule in all of college sports. Come on. Like, I get it. It's a rule, and I'm a Harbaugh apologist. He was my quarterback for 4 years. I'd do anything or say anything for Jim. All right, so put that on the table. Like, I'm being honest with you. I'm a Harbaugh apologist on that front. It's the dumbest rule on the face of the planet. And they put it into effect in the earlier mid-'90s because they thought it gave some schools an unfair advantage because not every program could afford to send a scout on the road to scout a future opponent. Get the F out of here. Do you think that we have a level playing field now with NIL? Do you think the University of Cincinnati can pay their guys what Alabama can pay their guys? They can't. So, this is crazy. Now, again, I get it. It's a rule. But I thought Deion Sanders had the best response.
That was the best.
He said, look, at the end of the day, you can have the playbook, but when they're on running a sweep, you got to stop it. He said it's not like knowing a pitch in baseball. He says, if I know a curve's coming, I can hit it. And it's just different. So he tried to differentiate because he was a pro at both sports. The difference.
Yeah, he didn't think it was a big deal. What do you think, Olin?
I agree with Tom. I mean, and furthermore, if they're stealing your signals, you have to take some of the responsibility there, right? Like you should have more intricate signals. Yeah, that's part of what I think that should be part of the game, right? They should be part of the game, whether they can read your signals or not. So, look, I tell my son who plays linebacker, like, make sure you listen to calls on the field. Make sure you're paying attention to what they're screaming. Make sure you're looking, like, if they're taking signals from the sideline, look over there. Look over there and see what they're seeing. You may pick something up, because to me, that's just part of the game. I'll be honest with you, until this all broke, I didn't know there was a rule against it. I figured it was all fair game, right? And then for another team to cry about it, like, you weren't going to beat Michigan anyway. So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to me that everything like this is going on. It may move it to what it should be, that they can call plays in the helmet. And I didn't even know this year. I asked my son Josh for a play on the sideline. I said, what did your coach say when you guys saw the video on the sideline? He said, we don't. I didn't know that. I didn't know they don't get pictures or video on the sideline in college either. So I guess it's just all these rules that I'm just learning myself.
All right, we need the keys to the game, and then Tom and I will make our picks. Olin, give me 2 keys to the Bears winning at LA at SoFi.
Yeah, the offensive line's got to come out and do the same thing they did this past game, right? They got to run the ball, and then Bagent just has to make a few plays out there. And then we talked about earlier what I'm excited about to watch this week. For the first time in a long time, I'm excited about a Bears game. I hope they do good. I was excited after watching this game. That secondary, their matchup, again, they have to dominate with the D-line that they have. I'm sure you guys will agree. Those guys are not going to dominate a football game. So we got to dominate on the back end.
Tommy.
Look, to me, I know it's, master the obvious once again, but you got to take care of the football. Last week, they took it away 3 times. They turned it over 0 times. There were no boom goes the dynamite moments from our offense. And there were 2 of those moments from this young quarterback the week before when he stepped in against the Vikings, where he had the strip sack that was returned for a touchdown, and then he threw the interception. We had none of those plays in an entire game against the Raiders. No boom goes the dynamite moments from your quarterback, and he'll give you a chance to keep running the football. It's what this team does best. It takes pressure off your quarterback. Other things open up. So take care of the ball. And look, again, I think that they're going to ask him to make more plays in this game. I don't think you're going to see the same exact game plan. I think they'll open it up a little bit, but he's got to be mature enough to take care of the football, and they've got to be mature enough to stick with what they do best, and that's run the ball.
Tommy, what's the score? Who wins?
Wow. I picked it wrong last time. I picked the Raiders. I'll say 27-24 Chargers. Just think that, this is a step up in class from what they played at home last week, going on the road. I think that I'm still a little skeptical in certain areas.
Yeah, I go 30-24 Chargers. I think Tyson plays reasonably well again, where we have the discussion, do we leave the kid in there? And I think that Herbert makes some plays. I think they play with a sense of desperation in Los Angeles. Gentlemen, I appreciate it once again. A lot of fun. Hopefully, we're talking about a Sunday Night Football coming out party for Tyson Bagent and Matt Eberflus and the Bears next week. How cool would that be?
Awesome.
That'd be awesome. Have a great rest of your night, guys.
You too.
Thank you, guys.
Feldco Bears Recap Live is brought to you by Feldco, Chicago's home renewal experts. Call 866-4-FELDCO. 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. For all the right reasons, 4 Seasons. Vienna Beef. Go to viennabeef.com and use code CAP23. That's KAP23 at checkout for 15% off your order today. And Dr. Pepper. Grab an ice-cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you.